to click on that subscription button, and then you can still click on like, place your comment, share with your friends. Possibly you might be having challenges with maybe the procedures and the method in which I use in solving this particular question. Place your comments. We can give you more videos on simplified method. Thank you very much and enjoy the ride as we solve this question. Now, in our previous example, we treated the mean deviation, but the question we solved, it wasn't grouped. It was an ungrouped data, so we just simplified it. But at this point in time now, we're having a group data. That is, the figures are grouped into different patterns. We have the 2 to 5, different groups, the 6 to 9, the 10 to 13, 14 to 17, 18 to 20. So now, but the question is, from the table below, calculate the mean deviation of the ages. The ages are live, so they now group them. Now, the frequency are 4, 3, 6, 2, and 5. And the question is, calculate the mean deviation. So, to solve this kind of question, the first thing we need to do is to form our table. But before then, let me introduce you to some of the formulas we are going to use. I want you to remember from our first video, we talked about how to calculate mean, and this is the symbol for mean. Yeah, this represents mean, and the formula is the sum of the product of frequency and the mean point over sum of the number or sum of the frequency. Then, now we are solving the mean deviation. The mean deviation, I call it MD, is equal to the sum of the frequency and the deviation all over the number. I can say the number or the total number of the frequency. So now let's form our table. We'll have this in mind. Now, the first thing we need to form in our table, the ages. We have the ages. We have, now at this point, since we are having a group data now, we're going to have the class mark or called the midpoint. Let me write it as class mark. Then the next column will be frequency. Frequency, let me represent it with F. Then the next one is the frequency and the class mark. This class mark, let me put X at the top as the symbol to represent class mark. Then the next column will be frequency times the class mark. Now the next one now is the deviation. Let me call it D, which is the class mark minus mean. Class mark minus mean. Then the last one is the product of the frequency and the deviation, FD. Yeah. F, let's put F times D. So FD simply means F times D. I can say FD, but let's use it as F times D so that you can understand clearly. So now let's form our table. Yes, table is too big. Yeah, table is too big. So let's yes. So now at this point in time now, we're going to have our beautiful table now. So what is the ages? The ages are, we have 2 to 5, we have 6 to 9, we have 10 to 13, then we have 14 to 17, then we have 18 to 21. 18 to 21. So the next thing to do is to form our class mark or the midpoint. So what's the midpoint? Midpoint is actually the addition of the group data divided by 2. So from here now we're having the first one, which is 2 plus 5, it will give us 7. 7 divided by 2, it will give us 3.5. The next one is 6 plus 9, it will give us 15. 15 divided by 2, it will give us 7.5. Next one is 13 plus 10 plus 13, it will give us 23. 23 divided by 2, it will give us 11.5. Next one is 14 plus 17 to give us 31. 31 divided by 2 to give us 15.5. Next one is 18 plus 21 to give us 19 to give us 39. Yes, 39 divided by 2 to give us 19.5. Yes, 19.5. So 19.5. So now this one, now the next one is the frequency. On the table, these are frequencies given to us from the question. We have 4, we have 3, we have 6, we have 2, and then we have 5. Yes. So and the next on our column is the product of the frequency and the midpoint, which is x. The product of the frequency and the midpoint, that's why I say f times x. So this x, so 4 times 3.5 now, it will give us 14. 4 times this, that is this frequency times this one now, 4 times 3.5 to give us 14. We have 14. 7.5 times 3, it will give us 22.5. Let's take our calculator to confirm. 7.5 times 3 to give us 22.5. Yes, 22.5. 11.5 times 6. 11.5 times 6 to give us 69. Now 15.5 times 2 to give us 31. Now 19.5 times 2. 19.5 times 2 to give us 39 times 5, sorry, 19.5 times 5 to give us 97.5. 97.5. So you can take your calculator to confirm the figures. So at this point in time now we are having the deviation. And what's deviation? Deviation is the rate at which the number is deviating from the midpoint. That is the function of the class mark minus the mean. That is the class mark, S is the class mark or the midpoint minus the mean. The rate at which the number or the data is deviating from the mean value. So what is this x, the midpoint? So 3.5 minus the mean. But what is our mean? We've not calculated our mean. So that's why we need to come back and calculate our mean. What are the things we need to use to calculate our mean? We need the frequency. What's the first one? The frequency? 4 plus 3 to give us 7. 7 plus 6, it will give us 13. 13 plus 2 to give us 15. 15 plus 5 to give us 20. So the total frequency here is 20. So let me use sum of frequency is equal to 20. Now what about the sum of frequency x? So let's calculate this now. We have 14 plus 22.5 plus 69 plus 31 plus 97.5 to give us 234. So the total value here now is 234. So the sum of the frequency and the x, the sum of this one now is what? Is equal to 234, which is what we need to solve our mean. We've gotten the sum of the frequency and the x, which is this. We've gotten the sum of the frequency, which is this. So our mean now is going to be, what this value is 234 over sum of the frequency, which is this, all over 20 is equal to, so divided by 234 divided by 20, it will give us 11.7. So our mean, the value for our mean now is equal to 11.7. So please take note. Now the next thing to do now is to find the deviation, that is the value of the midpoint subtracted from the mean. So 3.5 minus 11.7. 7.5 minus 11. So I can write it in this form by saying 3.5 minus 11.7. What will be the value? So let's take our calculator to give us minus 8.2. But at this point in time, we are not going to put the sign. We are only going to put the figure. We will neglect the sign. So it's going to be 8.2. Yes. To find the mean deviation, is going to be 8.2. Please bear with me as we 8.2. So the next one is going to be 7.5 minus 11.7. 7.5 minus 11.7 to give us 4.2. So there's no need of writing it is. We have very small space. 4.2. I think you understand. It's supposed to be minus 4.2, but we are not going to put the minus. In this calculation, we don't indicate the sign. We only leave it at positive. So now, 11.5 minus 11.5 minus 11.7. 11.5 minus 11.7 to give us 0.2. Yeah, 0.2. Now, 15.5 minus 11.7 give us 3.8. 3.8. 19.5 minus 11.7. 11.7. 7 give us 7.8. So we have 7.8 here now. So I hope you understood how we got this column. Now the next thing to do now is to find the product of the frequency and the deviation. So the product of the frequency and deviation, that is F times D, it simply means 8.2 times the frequency. F is this, then division is this. So 4 times 8.2 now. So 8.2 times 4 to give us 32.8. We have 32.8. Now 3 times 4.2, 4.2 times 3 to give us 12.6, 12.6. 6 times 0.2, 6 times 0.2 to give us 1.2, 1.2. Then 2 times 3.8 times 2 to give us 7.6. Then 5 times 7.8, 5 times 7.8 to give us 39. Yes, 39. You can also take a calculator to verify, but I'm sure these are the correct values. So what do? After we've gotten our FD, now that is the product of the frequency and the deviation, the next thing to do is to find the sum. The sum, the way we calculated the sum for the product of frequency and the midpoint. So we're also going to find the sum for the product of frequency and the deviation. So 32.8 plus 12.6 plus 1.2 plus 7.6 plus 39 is going to be 93.2. Yes. The sum of the, we can call it EFD, sum of the frequency and deviation is 93.2. So let's come back again to our formula. Our formula says sum of the frequency times deviation, which is this, of which we've gotten it to be 93.2. 93.2 all over the total number, which is the total sum of the frequency, or we can say EF. We can also use it as EF, sum of the frequency. All the sum of frequency is 20. We can also indicate our total number, which is 20. So it's equal to 93.2 divided by 20. Yes, the answer is 4.66. So I can leave it as approximately 4.7. So our mean deviation for this question is 4.7. It's very simple. The only